Hi Gav, welcome back. It's Fresh Rubber time. I think we're going to need all of our brain cells to work out what on earth just happened at the 2026 Hungarian Grand Prix. I am a little bit at a loss to sort of even think about where to start. Have you got an inkling, Gav? Are you just as lost as me?
I'm just raising a glass of wine to the chaos. The absolute carnage and chaos that was... I mean, I've just spent the last half an hour just reading through my notes, which I furiously wrote throughout that Grand Prix. Do you know what the best thing about it was? Is it was from quali all the way through the whole race itself. It was not clear who was going to win, who was going to get pole, and it was definitely not clear who was going to win that race, right? Am I right? Or
Absolutely.
it was anyone's game.
I think after Friday's evidence, I thought, oh, Gav, you must be some kind of fortune teller because you totally picked the bones out of that one, suggesting that Ferrari with their mini turbo, their speed off the line, their speed through the corners, and the sort of lack of excessive long straights, they might be the ones to beat in Hungary. And I was thinking, oh, man, this dude can see the future. I got to get some crypto advice from him.
It made sense in my mind that where Mercedes were just so dominant was in the straight line, and where Ferrari were kind of like clawing it back but never able to capitalize fully was in the corners. So with a track like Hungary, like Hungaroring, like it's the straights are short. It's relentless cornering, and I just thought maybe Ferrari would, fare a bit better for that reason. And to be fair to them, they kind of did. And Lewis would have started P2. Leclerc obviously started. Where did Leclerc start? Yeah, he started in P3. Like, we were looking at very close to a kind of a strong Ferrari situation, but we didn't get one. We did not get one.
It kind of just fizzled and popped eventually, and yeah.
But why did it fizzle and pop for Ferrari?
So I think one of the gremlins from the weekend, probably from Saturday morning right through to Sunday afternoon, was the wind. The wind in at that circuit. The Hungaroring has this lovely aspect where I believe there are some places where you sit from a grandstand and you can see almost the entire circuit because it's got this kind of bowl-like shape to it. But because of that, some turns are very vulnerable to gusts of wind, and there was the right amount of wind variety this weekend that even someone as lauded as Max Verstappen managed to crash in qualifying, coming through the final turn onto the start-finish straight. He crashed in qualifying, and it's a bit weird. This is not the first time this season that we've had Max crashing either in qualifying or in a competitive session. He's done it 3 times now, and in Austria, then in Silverstone during the race he crashed, and then here at Hungaroring. So Max is having a pretty weird up and down season, you could say.
Well, he's wrestling this car, right? He's wrestling this car, and it's always coming into a corner that this happens, and it always seems to do with closing his wing and just the kind of the mechanics and the timing of that. But they've got rid of their turning wing, haven't they? What do they call the? What do they call the wing?
It was back on the. It looked to me like it was back on. It was a flippy wing.
What's the wing? What do we call this? The Macarena.
The Macarena wing.
The Macarena wing.
To my uneducated eye, it looked like it was back on the car this week. But hey, I'm not a rear wing expert.
Yeah.
Also, coming into that final turn, there's no DRS or opening of the wing. And when we think about Austria, those last 2 turns, there's no active aero there also. So in both those cases, it was just the rear stepped out. There was no
rear stepped out.
There was no wing to speak of.
I mean, is Max just driving this car? Is he just trying to squeeze? Are we seeing a Max that's trying to squeeze something that's not in the car out of it and then coming unstuck? Could we say that maybe?
It's possible.
He's kind of got this car by the throat, squeezing every ounce of blood and sweat out of it, and the rear end's going to step out.
That's kind of Max's style, right?
Yeah.
That's like what he does. If he was driving a shopping trolley, he would be wringing the neck of the shopping trolley. But coming back to your question about what happened to Ferrari, I think it was this situation where Lewis gets pipped at the post twice. And you got to wonder what is going on. So in qualifying, he was out-qualified by Lando Norris by, 14 hundredths of a second? Like, that's incredibly close. And you got to think, so frustrating. And he looked really frustrated after qualifying to have lost pole position by such a small margin. And as a fan, I would have been just super happy for him to get pole, because they were saying he would have been the oldest pole sitter in something like 40 odd years. And for him to be doing that at his age, and thinking about how poorly he performed at the Hungaroring last year, he qualified 12th last year. So the sort of the journey and the story and what it means for Lewis Hamilton, he's currently second in the standings. Like, there's just so much there. I mean, I would have loved to have seen,
would have been
for him to be at the top on Saturday.
It would have been awesome. His last pole there, incidentally, was 2023. So yeah, it's been a solid 3 years since he's had a pole there, or basically many other places in the world, to be honest. But the galling, I'm a Lando fan and a Lewis fan. They're probably my two favourite drivers. I don't mind if one of them beats the other one by, a few hundredths of a second. So I wasn't too sad about that. But I was really sad that just as he's kind of like back in that place, yet another penalty. Mm-hmm. And it was a fair penalty. He impeded Piastri in qualifying, and as a result, was it in practice or qualifying? It was in qualifying. It has to be in qualifying.
It would have been qualifying.
He impeded Piastri and got a 3-place grid penalty. So, the disappointment from going from pole to second is one thing, but to go from nearly getting pole to being shunted down to P5 is pretty brutal. And I was listening to Lewis talk about this afterwards, and he said that he was only made aware by the Ferrari team that Piastri was behind him at the apex, at the actual apex of the corner that Piastri was, you guessed it, behind him. So it's, for you and me, that's like, it's less than a second's warning. It's like, he's behind you.
Yeah, why didn't
by the way,
way?
He's like literally right behind you. So
he's already passed you.
Yeah, he's basically already passed. So pretty brutal.
I mean, that's a great foreshadowing, don't you think, of Piastri's experiences throughout the weekend, right?
Gosh,
the sort of we can come back to that. But the whole thing about Ferrari that I've been mulling over lately with their communication, because I think we had a bright spot in Barcelona when Hamilton won, and it was great strategy choices and Ferrari pulling a strategic masterclass out of the bag. That was amazing. We were thinking, oh, okay, great. So they've sorted out the communication difficulties. They've figured out the formula. Go them. But since then, there have been more than a few occasions where, say, Lewis gets a penalty and they don't tell him about it until just before he comes into the pit stop or just after. There's
wait, Jace, would you get on the phone and tell Lewis he has a penalty?
So I think with a driver like Lewis, you need to give him the information. Give it to him sooner. He might be upset about what he hears, but at least he can then do something about it. Say if it's, if he needs to put the hammer down before he comes in for a pit stop so he can build enough of a gap or something so he can deal with that 5-second loss.
Yeah.
Like they seem to want to give him information kind of when it's too late for him to do anything about it. And your example of qualifying impeding is exactly that, where he was given the information literally as Piastri's on his rear wing, inspecting the rear wing, you could say. And so, yeah, there's an element of frustration there.
Let me tell you a few things that I feel excited about Ferrari doing and some of their evolution. They sent Leclerc and Hamilton out in Q1, the first qualifying session, on mediums.
Yeah,
that was right. A stroke of genius. They were so confident in the pace of their car that while everyone else, you get 4 pairs of softs, you get 4 sets of softs. So they basically said, we're going to get through the whole of Q1 on a set of mediums. We think we can do it. They did it. It was nuts. It was like no one else thought to do that. None of the other top teams thought to do that or had the confidence. I'm liking this bullishness. It meant that Lewis had an extra set of softs to start the race on that no one else had. I thought that was so cool. The other thing Ferrari did was they pitted. Lewis was the first to pit in the race.
Yep.
They're kind of learning this kind of Red Bull thing of like, what if we're just aggressive? What if we go for undercuts rather than reacting? Why don't we kind of precipitate things and kind of get ahead of things? So I think I'm always, I don't think I'll ever not be frustrated with things like them not telling Lewis that Piastri's right behind him, or like you say, Jace, like not telling him he's got a penalty because they're scared that he'll get down in the dumps and, you know, kind of give up. I don't know what that is. But I'm also seeing kind of flickers of hope for Ferrari where they're like, okay, what we've done for so long hasn't worked. Let's send our drivers out on mediums in Q1. Let's pit first. Let's kind of, I don't know, let's bring the fight. So, I don't know. I'm hopeful that Ferrari is a changing team, is what I would say.
Your comment about the use of mediums in Q1 is spot on. And when I saw that, I thought, what is going on? Have they sort of woken up on the wrong side of the bed? They've just decided to really throw their toys out. But actually, in that Q1 session, the Ferraris were faster than the Mercedes. They weren't faster than the McLarens, but
on mediums.
Actually, they were faster than Oscar Piastri on softs. So it worked. It was not just a gamble that kind of they had to walk back from. It actually worked. So it's true. And you got to wonder, who is teaching them these lessons? Because I don't think it's Lewis. You know, Lewis has come from a pretty conservative tradition when it comes to Mercedes. I don't think he's brought that kind of aggressive strategy from there, unless it's like his last roll of the dice. He thinks, this is my best chance to get my final Drivers' World Championship. I'm second in the standings. Surely, you know, let's just try something a little different. And maybe Charles is like, I'll do what he's doing. You know, like, I don't care. I'll give it a go. I'll just follow him.
Say that again in a Charles voice. I want how you say the same as Hamilton has, please.
Yeah. That's
Merci.
It's just an incident. And Charles is just like, yeah, I'll have what she's having. You know, he's just living his best life or his worst life, trying to follow in the footsteps of his teammate. I don't know, but whatever they're doing, it's working. Except right at the last moment. It's that last little moment of execution when Lando Norris comes along and says, yeah, actually, I'll take that. I quite like this circuit. It's the second time here for me to win. That's good. I'll have that, thank you. Oh boy.
Good to see the king. Good to see the return of the king. Good to see Lando. Good to see Lando. And look, McLaren have brought some serious upgrades. They are working this car out, I would say. I'm not saying that they're faster than the Mercedes. I'm not even saying that they're faster than the Ferraris, but they're kind of methodically working through this car, upgrading it, fixing the aero package. It's looking good, and it's good to see Lando back on top. Is this his first race win of the season?
It is.
So, look, it's positive. It's everything.
On. Did he win it? I think he won a sprint. He might have won a sprint.
Did he win a sprint? Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
It's what we talked about last week. Like ideally we want someone different winning every race. Like that would be the dream. Like we want to see this kind of shared around. That said, Kimi is still is now 50 points ahead of his closest rival, which is Hamilton. George is languishing. Let's talk about the start of this race, Jace.
59 points.
Is it 59 points ahead of George, but 50 points ahead of Lewis in P2? The start of this race was awesome. And were you excited for Piastri's start? It was awesome.
I was. Yeah, and he...
Tell us what happened with Piastri. Where did Piastri start? He started in
he qualified... Fifth,
but he started in fourth. He
didn't have anywhere. I mean, he was 2/10 down in qualifying, so he was there or thereabouts, but just not quite there. And then when you consider both Hamilton and Antonelli had penalties, which put them back in terms of qualifying. So for Piastri to start where he did, he started third actually. He qualified
third. Sorry, yeah, you're right.
So Piastri had a great start. and he was kind of battling with Norris coming into turn one, but Norris was still ahead. And when they were coming, he'd gotten ahead of Charles Leclerc by this stage. So Ferrari's fast starting car that advantage seems to have gone completely.
Sure.
I think that's a legacy of the first few rounds of the season. And then as they're going down the hill to turn two to the newly named Hamilton corner, which I find really weird.
Better than car park or whatever it's called.
That's great.
So there's a corner called car park, isn't there? Anyway.
They would have that at the Nürburgring. Yeah. So coming down the hill to turn two, for some reason, so Piastri's on the inside, Norris is on the outside, which is generally the faster line, but it's dirtier on the outside and it's sort of off camber. And Norris just has a couple of adventures. He has, if you look at the onboard, he has to correct the rear stepping out a few times. And as a result, Piastri sort of walks through the open door that Lando had left for him.
Yeah.
So there you go. Off goes Oscar into the lead. And there he stayed for something like 30 odd laps with Lando Norris right tucked up under his bumper bar. And that to me was like, hello 2025. Your championship wants its hat back. It was just crazy seeing that sort of tight, close racing with those two guys going at it. It was like the 2025 Hungarian Grand Prix. You remember like the last 40 laps of the 2025 Hungarian Grand Prix had basically this. It was, but in reverse. It was Oscar Piastri chasing down Lando Norris and Lando holding him off. Oh my God. And then the team orders came up again. It was like, again, 2025 has come calling. It wants its championship back. The team orders conversation comes on. Lando Norris, who's been tucked up behind his teammate for lap after lap, he starts saying on the radio, I've got more pace.
I'm quicker.
Can I get through? I'm quicker. What did you make of the team order situation, Gab?
Well, he said, so Lando's sitting there and Lando said, like, as soon as I'm past him, I'll pull 10 seconds on him. That's what he said on the radio. Like, it's bold. Sometimes I wonder when I'm listening to these kind of, like, got Lando saying, I'm so much faster than him, mate. I'm so much faster. Let me, like, can I pit? Can I pit? And they're like, no, Lando, you can't pit because, McLaren's rules are pretty clear. Whoever is the lead car gets to choose to pit first, right? So I don't know what you're getting at here. I think, are you saying that team orders came in Lando's favor in this?
No, he was asking for team orders.
Yeah.
He was on the radio asking for the team to do something.
Let me pit first.
Pit first because the undercut's powerful, it seemed, although that didn't work out.
Didn't really work out that way, did it?
So
going
he's saying,
long
okay,
worked well.
Pit me first. Well, I think actually in Piastri's case, it was more a matter of like coming out and banging wheels with someone that he really ought not to have been doing. But yeah, Lando saying, put me into the pit so I can do something different because doing the same thing isn't working. Or ask him to move aside so I can get ahead. Both of those are in the driver's mind valid options. Help me out here. I've got more pace. And there's often what you see. They swap drivers around. But as we know from 2025...
Right. Okay, I see what you're getting at now.
They don't allow that.
Yeah.
It's
I love
not
that,
how it
though.
works.
I love that. I think that's fair. I think it's right. I think it's what every other team should aspire to do. It's like, Lando, if you're so much faster than Piastri, get past him. Other people are making overtakes, like we saw Max Verstappen's incredible overtake on Lewis Hamilton in turn one. You're going to have to get back, or you're just going to have to wait your turn. And so
you've got overtake mode.
Yeah.
You're behind. Sure, this circuit has more turns than straights, it seems, so it's difficult to follow. But this regulation set allows that much more than we have in the past, and you've got overtake mode. So get it done.
But Piastri
you are the driver.
Piastri was furious for a number of reasons. He was furious that he was dumped back into traffic on his pit stop, and I think he expected more from his team in where he came out. And then, of course, to add insult to injury, I mean, this is really a story of deep woes. Maybe not as much as George's woes in this race, but, well, actually more because he DNFs in the end, doesn't he, Piastri? But, Piastri comes up on a battle between Sainz and
Alonso.
The
most important battle of the weekend, really.
and Sainz just like absolutely sideswipes him. Clearly not even aware that he's there.
Closes the door.
Closes the door.
Ironically, at the same spot where Piastri had scooted through on Norris on lap 1.
What's really painful, I will say this, what's really painful about this race to me is you talked about 2025. It's almost as if 2025 for Piastri could have been summed up in this one race. You know, you're leading ahead of your teammate.
Well said.
There's all sorts of like team order stuff going on. Things go wrong. You have DNFs. You end up just nowhere. Like you go from leading to nowhere. And I feel like, I don't know if that was just deeply triggering for Piastri. Yeah. I'm desperate for Piastri to do well. I want to know, like, I don't want to get too psychoanalytical here, but I want to know what's going on in his head. Did 2025 just, I was saying this to my partner, did it just really, the other day, did it really damage him? Because I just in a way felt like Lando was kind of fortunate to win last year against someone like Piastri. I just don't know if something kind of broke in Piastri's mind that he's going to have to rebuild now. Because he's not competitive. He's not as competitive. No,
yeah, I agree with you.
He was thrashing Lando for the first half of 2020, like decimating him. Like he was doing a Kimi to George on Lando, basically.
Yeah, he was pile driving him.
Anyway,
but well, I mean, if you're thinking about things breaking and needing to be rebuilt, then McLaren certainly has that in spades, because there's a gearbox problem of some sort on Piastri's car that they've got a few weeks now to put that back together again. I think something you raised maybe 1 or 2 episodes ago was that this formula suits certain drivers more.
Yeah.
And I would say I'd put it down, the Piastri slump. I'd put that down to a combination of the number of mechanical failures that all of the teams have had this season so far. They've all had their fair share, including McLaren at the start of the season, and the car's just suiting Lando more.
Yeah,
that's what I would put it down to. Interestingly enough, in the Drivers' Championship standings, Verstappen now is ahead of Piastri. So that's one of the outcomes of this weekend. Verstappen has finally clawed his way up to 8th, I think it is, and he's now ahead of Piastri. Yeah, it's tough. What do you make of the 5-second penalty for Sainz for causing a collision that essentially ruined the leader's race? Before the DNF happened, he put him from the clear leader, or close to, battling for the lead, to all the way down to, I think he was in 8th position after that lap. What do you make of it?
Where did... Okay, you're going to have to remind me. What happened to Piastri after that moment with Sainz? Are you saying he got knocked down to 8th as a direct result?
Maybe I got that wrong.
I don't think it was quite that bad.
He lost... Maybe it was 8 seconds. So one fact got translated to another.
Sure.
He certainly... He did not benefit from that interaction with Carlos Sainz coming through turn 2. And Carlos Sainz gets a 5-second time penalty for essentially banging wheels with someone who's leading the race.
Well, there's
what
two
do you
things.
make of that?
It's really hard, because I think basically the way a rule book probably needs to function is that you have a penalty for a behaviour, not a penalty for what it means for one driver's ambitions within a race. Like, if you're a fan, it's devastating that Sainz only gets a 5-second penalty. You want him to be hung, drawn, and quartered for that if you're a Piastri fan, don't you? You basically just want him to, like, someone to come out and say, right, your race is you messed up his, but it's just not it's one of the deeply unfair things about F1. It's a bit like when Max tried to take out George, and it was only at the very end of the season that he got the true karma for that, right? Because in that race he's like, I don't care, like whatever, a few points and blah blah blah. I don't know. I really rate Sainz. I think he's a decent guy. I don't think he's got a nasty bone. He's like Leclerc. I don't think he's got a nasty bone in his body. He never would have done that to Piastri intentionally. But if you're a Piastri fan, you're gonna want 10 seconds for that, aren't you?
At least, and it's not just
At least. Oh, you feel that? I feel like you feel this way. Okay, let's reframe this. Jace, tell us how you feel about that penalty.
So I don't have a Piastri fandom aspect to this. To me, it's more like a neutral perspective on the race. But also, I saw an onboard clip of Sainz's car before this incident. And there would have been, I think they counted 8 separate blue flags were shown to Sainz before the contact was made. So he says, I didn't see him. You know, the angle of my mirror was such that I couldn't see him. But dude, he had the entire start-finish straight. The blue flags started showing on the penultimate corner as he's going around that really slow, weird corner before the final corner. And then all the way down the start-finish straight, around turn 1, and then down to turn 2.
Okay,
so
that's
had
different.
Ample warning from the literal systems, like the flags that the drivers need to pay attention to, and it would have been on his dash. I don't know if the engineer came on the radio about it, but he was so focused on his battle for P18 or 14 with Fernando Alonso, with his countryman, that he decided that it was more important to make the corner efficiently rather than
Isn't that
be aware
nuts?
of what's going around.
What you're saying is nuts, which is basically like someone at the very back of the pack having, let's not make any bones about it, like a pretty meaningless, pointless battle. And when I say pointless, I don't mean pointless between the drivers. I mean, there are no points to score in that battle.
It is literally pointless.
Can derail, you know, another driver's chance at getting on the podium. And yet, this is F1. Welcome to F1. I mean, it's like Latifi. Like, you know, Lewis Hamilton. Like Latifi. It was Latifi, right?
Yeah.
In 2021, putting it in the wall meant that there was a safety car because basically Latifi couldn't drive. Really, should never have been in F1. I think I remember one race where Latifi actually went down an exit road rather than staying on the track because he thought that was the track. Do you remember that?
That was in Suzuka. I'm not sure it was Latifi. I think you might be misremembering.
I'm going to say it was Latifi because I've got a deep, deep level of pain towards Latifi because had there never been that safety car, Lewis would be 8 times world champion.
Yes.
But like, this is the problem with F1 and also the beauty of it, that some like 18 or 19th running car can really wreck a top car's run.
Oh, absolutely. And it wasn't just that. So here's my thing on Sainz, and then I'll move on. I don't think 5 seconds was representative of both the blue flag ignorance, the impact with Piastri, and then what eventually happened. So I don't think 5 seconds is enough. I don't know what the right level of penalty is, but clearly he didn't suffer any for that. He had a time penalty that put him behind his teammate, but so what? Like, it literally is pointless, that outcome for him. And to sort of rub salt in the wound, it's his old team, McLaren, you know, and they had that sort of love and Lando and Sainz.
I always forget that was his old team. Yeah,
that's his old team. And when he went off to Ferrari, they this is my favorite McLaren video ever. They all farewelled him, speaking about him in Italian as they sent him off to Ferrari. It was such a heartwarming video. And then so there's Piastri mouthing off on the radio, effing and jeffing like you wouldn't believe about this idiot and how he's ruined his race. So I just think it sort of pushes all of my buttons, this thing with Sainz. But then it's not over with Sainz. The back markers actually were a factor for the drivers ahead, including Kimi Antonelli and Lewis Hamilton. Like, the back marker impact on the race leadership and the sort of podium competition was really tough this race. And there's something about it. F1 has its levels of fairness, and this is one that sort of pushed my unfairness buttons. But like, what did you make of the sort of
I just don't
toing and froing?
I just don't think we should have 22 cars on the track. I think that's a huge problem. Adding 2 more cars, especially when they're Cadillacs, is basically just bringing up your back markers way quicker than you'd ever have to face them.
Don't worry, they won't be on track for much of the race. They'll take themselves off.
They'll take themselves
off track.
Both Cadillacs are DNF.
But it wasn't just back markers, actually. That's a wild thing. It was Lindblad and Lawson fighting Hülkenberg. That caught Kimi Antonelli up. And they finished... Lindblad finished 9th. Hulkenberg finished 10th, and Lawson finished behind that. But like that Racing Bulls and Audi battle, that's not backmarker territory. That was midfield. So even the midfield drivers were really in the way this round. Maybe it's just the short circuit aspect of it. That's kind of
it could be that as well. It could be that, but I do think it's too crowded. But anyway, like I guess money talks. Listen, we've talked about. I've got this kind of list of woes. Like I've got woes and wins. Like woe for Oscar, clipped by Sainz, angry at team for when they released him, and a DNF gearbox failure. So massive woe for Oscar. Woe for Lewis, obviously getting his penalty in qualifying, and then getting another penalty for exiting the pit lane too far, kind of pit lane speed limit, which was absolutely brutal for Lewis. So Lewis continues to be the penalty sponge. There's all sorts of rumours going on online that there's this kind of secret cabal who don't want Lewis. This is so funny, Jace. You'll love. I mean, it's so rubbish, but there's this whole theory that there's this cabal behind the scenes that are working with the media and with the FIA to stop Lewis getting his 8th world title. Wow. For whatever reason. You do the math in your brain. But then more woe for George. Maybe the most woeful woes, because even though it wasn't George's woes weren't as maybe as dramatic as Oscar's, or Lewis's getting more penalties. To start the race, where did George start? Poor old George. He started in P6 or P5 maybe?
Yeah, I think it was P6 because Antonelli
Antonelli got the starts in P6, goes to launch off the line, and his car drops into anti-stall mode, which basically means that I think in lap 1 he went from P6 to P18. Does this guy's bad luck know no end? I feel I'm beginning to want to start a charity for George, because I just think the trauma is going to be too much this year. And Toto's on the radio. Toto's like, yes, it's unacceptable, George. I'm so sorry what we've done. It's not your fault. We are totally... Doesn't matter, Toto. It doesn't matter if you're the good dad who accepts responsibility. You need to give him a car that works.
Well, the disparity, of course, the disparity between one side of the garage and the other is just nuts. Did you see at the end of qualifying? So George didn't have a great qualifying, but he wasn't as bad as he was in practice.
That bad.
He wasn't as bad. And then on his last lap in Q3, he pulled over at the end of the lap because he had a water leak in his car. And he said afterwards that it was the way the water leak was affecting his driving was there was a water pistol spraying water on his tires as he was going through the lap. And then at the end he had to pull over because he had this water leak. And then this. I sort of think...
I mean, that's you're pissed. Let's just freeze there. It's if the humiliation isn't already enough, the car is making it look like you pissed yourself. That is what's happening. He's getting water in his lap on his pants. This is... Anyway, sorry.
Not a good look. So George mathematically isn't out of the race. He's third in the driver's standings, but he's 59 points behind his young teammate. Yeah. And it's like a comedy of errors. It's if the guy didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all. Some of it's his driving performance, but most of it, the vast majority of it, is just the car letting him down. It's almost like Mercedes is bringing downgrades each weekend for George's car specifically. Yeah. It's got to be a real head scratcher, that one for George. Absolutely. And he, to his credit, he still kind of turns up. He hasn't thrown in the towel. Yeah. He's not trying to take out his teammate. And that would have been super scary. The sort of difference in speed between everyone else and you coming up behind you and zooming past you on the grid would be so scary. Yeah, not a fun experience at all. Yeah, but to his credit, also he fought his way back, and he wound up finishing P7 or P8. So a bit of a damage limitation weekend for him. Finished P7. So he gets himself 6 points. It's not nothing. Keeps him in the standings. Speaking of standings, McLaren have finally caught and passed Kimi Antonelli as the third best constructor in the constructors' standings, so that's good. And Antonelli, this was one of those weekends where...
Who are the winners? Yeah, let's talk about the. I don't even know if I want to say winners, like the beneficiaries of other people's bad luck.
Well, I think Kimi could have benefited more. You know how he benefited as he did, attempting to pull off the one stop, and then he got that late stop, and then he didn't stop under the virtual safety car. So
Because
he ended up...
wait, let's just be clear. He didn't stop under the virtual safety car because he had just stopped. Just before, yeah.
2 laps before.
Yeah.
But, if he had stopped, if the timing of that virtual safety car had been slightly different and Kimi had stopped under virtual safety car conditions, he could have won this race.
Yeah, that's true.
By some performance, yes, but mostly by luck. Because Norris was just flying out there last night. It was amazing to watch Norris just really, really dominate. But Kimi could have... I mean, he's the anti-Russell at this point. He could have... He did benefit from the timing and the luck, but he could have actually won the race. He was
to be fair, because he
second
finished
away from it.
He finished 18 seconds behind Lando, and how much would a virtual safety car stop have?
It would have cut at least, I think, 10 seconds off the time delta.
Maybe it could have. It definitely could have got P2. He could have definitely grabbed a Max. Yeah, for sure. No, Kimi's kept this clean. Like Kimi started. How many did he get? 3. Did he get 3 place? Did he start P7?
3 place. Yeah, he started P5.
Do you mean he started P5? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh no, he started P6.
P6. Started P6.
Oh, sorry, I can't count.
No, it's P7.
P7. He started P7.
Yeah, he started P7. So I was right.
Great result.
Just cut that bit of your commentary out there. So he started at P7. You're making me question myself. I don't like that. He started at P7 and just had a really clean race, really clever race. Like obviously Mercedes were like hanging him out to see if a one stop was possible. They did the math, ran the data. It wasn't. He then, like you say, pitted excruciatingly 2 laps before a safety car, which could have really benefited. But he still scraped together P3. Hamilton couldn't get him, could he? Like it just didn't have the pace.
With the Backmarkers, he almost did.
Yeah.
He almost did. He came close.
Yeah, it came close. But I feel like with Kimi, once he gets where he wants to be in a race, it's very hard to overtake him.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do you agree?
That has been one of his hallmarks since the junior formula. And I think he also is a bit of a ballsy overtaker as well.
Yes.
But yeah, he certainly... I think, Max has similar quality where Max just seems to make his car 3 times as wide. There's something about Max and Kimi has this too, where they're really hard to get past, as long as you don't have some kind of like a tire offset or some kind of extra battery, something like that. As long as you've got kind of reasonably equal machinery, it's going to be hard to get past him. He's got that kind of racing nous, which again is amazing given that he's 19 years old. He's only in his 2nd season. He's kind of got the maturity to go up against Lewis Hamilton and hold him off, despite having to weave. I mean, the Backmarker stuff was insane. It was crazy. I was really hoping that they'd try and pull off a one stop. I was thinking, he could do it. He could do
it, yeah.
In the end, he finished 3rd. That's okay. Like, we can take that, bank the points. It's a much better European leg than he had last year, so we're happy with that outcome. Yeah.
Max had a great race.
Max did have a great race, and
his start was insane.
The thing
what was his start? He started in P6? No. Where did Max start? Max P5 to P3 within the first lap. He kind of put him like... It just goes to show, isn't it? Like, what you can do in the opening lap in the middle of that chaos can really position you for the rest of the race in a way that you never get a chance to do again.
The only way you get another chance is with a safety car. This time around, it didn't happen. It was only a virtual safety car. Kind of lucky that, in a way. I thought when Piastri pulled over and retired, and when Perez retired as well, I was thinking, here we go, safety car. Someone's luck's going to be undone. But and then Max...
He stayed out. He stayed out under the safety car.
Hamilton attempted the undercut and it paid off. He managed to get ahead. And then Max just said, "Not today, mate. That is not happening on my watch." Dive bombed him into turn one in much the same way that he did last year. I don't know if you remember that last year.
I don't,
the year
actually.
before. Max at Hungaroring coming down the inside. I think that was in 2024, not in 2025. This is when Lewis was still with Mercedes. Anyway, Max pulled it off this time, got past. That was just like, mwah, chef's kiss. It was a beautiful thing to watch. And for Lewis, he must have been thinking, hey, but I did all the hard work. I did the hammer time, even though they don't know how to say that anymore in Ferrari. I did all the things. And then here he comes. Max, he's just unstoppable. That was amazing. That was really amazing.
It was amazing. Did you hear why that happened to Lewis? Which I think has been a hallmark of him this year under this new regulation set. He used too much boost getting past, I think it was a Lindblad, which is obviously a Red Bull, let's just call them Red Bull 2.0 team. He was probably making it extra hard for Lewis because of Max being essentially a teammate. I think he'd used a lot of his electrical energy so that when he did come out in front of Max, it didn't take Max long to get back ahead of him. But he didn't see it coming. So Lewis said on the radio when Max flew past him and dive bombed him on turn one, said to his team on the radio, I didn't see it coming. I didn't even he just wasn't aware that Max was that close. I don't think. I think you're right. I think he thought he'd got it done.
And that must be, again, communication.
So painful. So painful.
I'm really sick of this press a button and do an overtake formula. That's really, it's really not doing it for me. I saw a clip of Max talking about his overtake on Lewis at the Red Bull ring. And the person was saying, that was such an amazing overtake on Lewis, turn 4, turn 5. How did you do it? And Max just says, well, I pressed the button. I got more power and I did it. It was like, oh, okay. This is like Mario Kart. Just like, what Max was saying at the start of the season. It's playing
cool?
Out in front of us. Isn't
that cool that Max is like, I'm not going to take glory for something that was me just like,
yeah.
I have to say, though, that pass on Lewis at turn 1 was pretty epic. That deserves a bit of glory.
It totally did.
So we've got Leclerc, who just kind of amongst
there.
The chaos, he was just there. He just picked
Although
up.
he was super fast in the last stint. You know how Lewis got his 5-second penalty?
Yeah.
I was thinking, well, maybe Lewis can just drive fast and he'll be okay. But Leclerc had none of that. He was making sure that he kept within that 5-second window to make sure he got the pit.
His engineer would have been saying to him, Lewis has got a 5-second penalty. Just please stay under. But then, I mean, I think Lewis had been in battles the whole way through, whereas I think Leclerc had been kind of running his own race to some degree. So his tyres were probably a lot fresher. But anyway, to sum up my feelings about this race, probably one of the most complex races of the season. Fascinating strategies being deployed. Great to see Ferrari deploying some strategy. All the drama that you could want in a race with kind of people getting deeply upset, Piastri at Sainz and all the rest of it. But I genuinely didn't know who was going to win. And I'm so grateful for that, Chase.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful not to know who was going to win.
And I think also to not know throughout the weekend as well, not just in the race.
Yeah.
Having this kind of variety. I'm not a fan of the rookies taking part in FP1, it must be said, which is something that kind of surprises me. That's why I think it has to be said. I kind of like the rookies. I want to see new drivers come through. But when they occupy FP1, they kind of get in the way. That's my view now. But the reason I mention that is because Antonelli didn't take part in FP1, as an example. And so you think, okay, so the drivers... Not only is it a challenging formula, challenging circuit, difficult conditions, they also miss a whole hour for not being able to get out and do the practice. So the sort of the order, the performance, it's all variable. And we are seeing different teams like McLaren this weekend like Aston Martin this weekend, bringing packages.
Oh, we need to talk about Aston.
Bringing new updates that do deliver performance upgrades. And so you think this is exactly what we've been asking for and what we've been hoping for throughout the season, despite the fact it kind of looks a bit like it's bolted on for Kimi. We are seeing the other teams fight back, and who knows?
Who knows, mate? Who knows?
Maybe Lewis can claw back the biggest offset in Formula One history and ride off into the sunset. So let's talk Aston Martin. What's your vibe on Aston Martin this weekend?
Well, Alonso's first entry into Q2 for the whole year so far.
It's such a low bar. It's such a low bar, mate.
The two-time world champion. Everyone knows he's an incredible driver. It's the first time he made it into Q2 the whole year. So Aston have had this policy under Newey that they weren't going to drip feed upgrades to this car. They were just going to let it be an absolute pile of crap, because they couldn't fix it until they had all the upgrades, and they dropped all the upgrades this weekend. And next, after the summer break, our next race in Zandvoort in the Dutch Grand Prix, they have got finally a new engine by Honda going into the machine. But this could be the moment we get to see a redemption arc of some sort for poor old Alonso. Because Alonso's talking about, like, this is the last time you'll see me here. I've got family now. I want to spend more time with my family. Like all the usual stuff we hear. But if they can get this car, if Newey can get this car good for the second half of the season, we'll have Alonso for one more year, won't we, Jace? We'll have Alonso for one more. I don't want him to go.
Dude, I'm beginning to wonder if we'll have Adrian Newey for another season if it keeps going the way.
Well, let's see what happens with this new engine Honda have developed.
Can I drop a little stat on you, Gav?
Oh, I love your stats, mate.
Where do you think Alonso qualified last season at the Hungarian Grand Prix?
Last season?
What number? What do you reckon?
9?
Fifth. He
Oh
qualified
gosh.
5th. And guess where Lance Stroll qualified?
Where?
6th.
Oh my gosh.
They were had just a third row lockout 12 months ago.
They were just getting to grips with the ground effect cars on the final year.
And now we're celebrating that Alonso's made it into Q2 for the first time.
Yeah.
How far they have fallen. Yeah. It is a thing. One more little stat, and then I probably need to go. I saw this today, and it just blew my mind. So the first win that Lewis Hamilton got after he became world champion in 2008 was at the 2009 Hungarian Grand Prix.
No way.
And the first win for Lando Norris of a Grand Prix after he became world champion is the 2026 Hungarian Grand Prix.
Oh, I see a pattern here.
How's that for a little bit of synchronicity?
That's a deep, that's a philosophical, existential kind of stat. That feels like kind of an omen. Okay, well, let's come back to this next year. Whoever wins.
A good omen, right? A good omen.
Yeah, a good omen. Like, let's see if whoever wins this year. If Kimi wins, it would be his first world championship. So we would need to see him win his first race next year at the Hungaroring.
Let's see.
And then you've got to... anyway,
you're
looking forward to the Dutch Grand Prix. You're looking forward to the Max fans. I know they get, arrested for, all sorts of dodgy stuff, but... I am, and I'll tell you why.
Because we're going to have this giant gulf of a break, the summer break, between now and then. So even though I think, like you, the Zandvoort circuit is kind of an ugly, dull mess, I will be chomping at the bit to have F1 back after a mere 4 weeks away. I will be absolutely reveling in it. How about yourself? Are you looking forward to Dutch Grand Prix for the same reasons or for different ones?
Yeah, for the same reasons. I don't know. There's just something. It feels iconic to me because of the Max kind of mania. I would love to see Max do well there. Like you, I don't think it's a particularly amazing circuit, but in 4 weeks' time, we will take whatever we can get in terms of F1 action, won't we? We would lap up a go-kart ring, to be honest. So, see you in Deutschland. Well, not Deutschland. See you in the Dutch Grand Prix. Ciao.